Greetings programs, welcome to the grid. I am Sark and today's game is a peach surface material in 3D Studio Max using Affinity Photo. I've got my peach selected, I've got the modifier panel open, we're going to use that in a minute. I've got the material editor open. You can see I've got a few more materials. To do that, you just go into this. Okay. And you could set it up as much as you want, up to 24. After 24 materials, you need a better way to do this. There are much better ways to organize things, so but this'll do for today. We're going to name it Peach, and we're going to go to the physical material because we know that we're going to want some subsurface scattering and some other effects, some translucency on the edges, and we need just the base color for now. I'm going to choose checker. I'm going to press this button so we can see it on our object. We're going to press this button, assign material to selection. Some people like to drag and drop them, but I find that that gets tricky when you have a lot of stuff in the scene. So I press this button, assign to selection, and I set the tiling to 2. Right? So there's how our material would be tiled on there, and the default UV coordinates are actually pretty good. Basically what I'm aiming for, but I'll just show how they work. So you could have a planar material or you could have a box material. You see you get these seams. You don't want that. With the planar material, it gets stretched towards the center, towards the equator. We want to stretch it towards the pole, just like a projection of an actual map on the Earth, or a skewed map on the Earth looks. We're not trying to be too scientific here. And we try a cylindrical map, and as long as you leave the cap off and just edge up the height a little bit, not a lot, there you can get rid of any blurriness in the center. So that's what I'm aiming for. Just know that the very top of your map and the very bottom will be sort of off the object at this point if you've increased the height. Aside from that, we're ready to go into Affinity Photo and start working on it. So I went over to CG Textures and got some peach references. They didn't have any like peach textures ready to go, but that's fine. We have our references. We're going to use those. In Affinity Photo, I'm going to go to File, New, and I'm going to choose like a CD cover under Web. They have a 3000 by 3000. That works for me. I'm going to choose to Layer, New Layer. And I guess it doesn't matter to me if... Yeah. So there it is. We're going to use a gradient. I need another test on my object to see how things are going to look. So we're going to choose the gradient tool in Affinity. And I think in Affinity you click and drag your gradient first, and then you change how you want it to behave. So you go over here and you're like, I want that to be black. Okay. So this is going to be a good trick for us, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put like a couple of lines across. Take like a bright color that's easy to see. Maybe not too hard on the eyes though. Where is my color swatch? I am blind. I don't know where the color swatch went. Is it? Oh, there it is. Color. Okay. So I want to change this. I want to make it like cyan. That'll do. Alright, so there's my cyan. And I'll just put another line down here so we can see what we're doing a little bit. So this is kind of like the checker map. All I'm doing is I've gone in here to create another tool. I know it hurts the eyes a little bit with the gradient and the cyan, but it's just temporary, so it will do. We need a place to put it. Where am I putting all my files? Desktop, the grid, still life, textures, okay. So I'm going to save this in here as like peach, peach color, and I actually already have one, but let me export this actually and save it over top. So PNG export, and I like these straight lines better than the squiggly ones I was trying. So I'll just save it right over there. Is it finished? Yes, it's finished. So we're going to go back in here and we're going to load it instead of our checker map. The tiling of which should now be 1 by 1. we're going to replace it with bitmap. So we're going to click checker, and we're going to switch it to bitmap. We're going to hit OK. Now we're going to go to our desktop. We're going to go to the place where we saved our file, wherever that happens to be for you, and load that in. Alright, so now this is on the surface. Alright, so it's not too different from our checker map at the moment, just because of the way the gradient turns out. Now what we need, I'm going to hit P in my viewport, and I'm going to zoom my camera in so that I haven't actually changed where the camera is. I haven't warped our perspective. And we can see that the seam is in the wrong spot. I want the seam, I'm actually going to rotate the camera, sacrilege. I want the seam on the other side of the peach. Alright, well here's the trick. You can open the UV map. You can you just change the tiling? I think you might just be able to change the tiling. You can change the offset here. I bet we could just move our V offset. Let's play around with that. Okay, we don't want to move the V offset. Let's move our U offset. Okay, so U is basically X and V is basically Y for the purpose of these texture coordinates. And as long as our image is square, just like our other one, and our U offset is, it looks like it's almost 0.5 where the seam is. Let's move it a little further. What do you guys think? Maybe 0.55, 0.53, 0.54 is too far. 0.54 is almost right on it. It's hard to see with the shadow there. Let's see, 0.535. 0.537. Good enough. Actually, I think that's perfect. So 0.537, and now our seam lines up with our seam. Right? And that's going to make our lives a lot easier with the peach, especially if we don't get things exactly tileable, and nor should they necessarily be with a real object. So, great. All of that is a placeholder for our real work. So back to Affinity Photo. Go ahead and delete this work. Can we just like get rid of that? Okay. And let's open our reference photos. So we're just going to steal some colors from these for starters. All right. Easier than it looks to grab that edge if your resolution's high enough and you're trying to do other things with your mouse at the same time. Okay. So we could always just start clone stamping stuff in. I think the first thing I want to do is just kind of get a base color. So we're going to just go to our paintbrush and go to our color swatch tool. Can I just, yep, that's pretty nice. So here we have like a base orange for our whole peach, right? Let me just make our paintbrush a little bigger. Is that our paintbrush? I think that's our paintbrush. Well, we don't have it selected, do we? Okay. Where did our color go? Well, that's not quite what we wanted. Okay. So, get our eyedropper. Oh, we have different tools selected based on our window. Okay, I get it. So get our eyedropper, and I got it. But when I come over here, I don't. And we can do it the old-fashioned way. I'll just clip a little bit of this. A lot of ways to skin this particular cat, but there we go. We will learn as we go. We're going to play around with this little bit. So I'm going to take our eyedropper again, right? And go eyedropper that? Yes. I'm going to go to our brush and assign what we've eyedroppered. There we go. Alright, so we've got our Why is it just a quarter of the object though? What is this pixel selection? Layer, new layer. Okay, this seems to be cooperating with. Alright, pretty blunt work initially. And then we should probably have some other colors, right? Like, so we should have a lighter orange. Let me just open those for reference. So I'm just going to eyeball these colors because I'm still new to Affinity Photo. Not really sure what the best way, but I can see there's a much brighter yellow here, right? So let's take that, if we can get it. We may not be able to, so let's just make it, right? That feels about right. Set our brush's opacity way down. We could be using, we probably should be using a tablet, but I'm going to paint some broad strokes here. So layer, new layer. And our brush's opacity is only 44%. Feels like, okay. Feels like we should be able to just get some peachy bits in here. Now, this is no good for a finished texture, but it is going to be good for just kind of testing our look. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. I'm going to go to same file folder, and I'm going to go to 3D Studio Max, right? So I really had peach color as the other name. That's no good. Peach color, I don't know, 1. Terrible, terrible naming conventions. And we'll go back into 3D Studio Max. So let's swap this out for our peach color and see how things are working. Probably not great, but I'm willing to give it a try. That was an Affinity file, so it doesn't want to save that. Or 3ds Max doesn't want to open the Affinity Photo file. It will open PSDs, but even that's kind of crazy. Like, you usually want to compress your files, especially if you're doing game development or something. Okay, let's see if this will cooperate. Yeah, it will. Okay. So you can see I roughly have the colors of the peach in there, maybe not in the right spots. We'll try it. And go back and look at our camera. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely redder on the top and things like that. But it's not as bad as I feared. So I'm going to hit F10. I'm going to go to the art renderer. We have it set for draft quality, and we're using a lot of noise filtering. So my paint chips and things aren't going to look as good, but it should be a relatively quick render. I'm going to hit F10 or F9. And it's going to be pretty noisy, and then it's going to get like wiped over with a filtering that sort of kills most of the noise and a lot of the detail we lost. But okay, there's our peach. It's way too shiny, but we have some settings to play with in here to fix that, and then I'll show you when it's finished the work we can do in Affinity Photo. Obviously, a lot of work can yet be done in here. So where was I? Material editor. I'm just going to punch in our settings to get this to behave more like a peach before we fix the colors. So that's probably what you came here for. Most of you know how to paint. Yep. So here are our settings. We're going to choose not to use the advanced mode. We don't need to separate like different specular layers and things like that. We're going to choose to use base color of 1. we're going to copy our base color over to, actually, right now, the way my colors are working, I should just choose like a bright orange that's not quite as red, right? There, that's peachier. Oh, but not on the emission. That goes on subsurface scattering, so we'll just swap those. Okay. The scatter color should be lighter, so this is actually a perfect peach color for our scatter color. And we're going to set the roughness to 0.9. Already that's going to improve things drastically. So taking a quick render now. Yeah, already it's got this little bit of a nimbus glow that a fruit in the sunlight might have, and it's lost that glossy wetness, right? So it looks soft and fuzzy now, like a peach should. We can even do some with some noise maps if we want, which might be more relevant if we weren't using as much noise filtering. So that's the roughness. Index of refraction at 1.52, fine. Don't really care too much about the index of refraction of the peach. It's pretty rough anyway. So the subsurface scattering, we're going to use very little. I'm just going to set it to like 0.1, and we're going to set the depth to like 2. Still don't have a complete grasp on exactly what the depth does to us, or for us. But that's what I'm going to do. And now we're going to take another shot at the render. Obviously, we're not going to get as much out of this low quality render as I would if I left it go for a half hour, but nobody wants to sit and watch that. Maybe I'll post the results somewhere if people are interested. But what I am looking for in our render is, you'll notice that our grapes have like little green pixels near them, and the longer the render goes, the better quality and the softer and smoother all this gets. But that's the light shining through, right? And what I'm looking for with the peach is not a ton of that, but a little. And we're getting little bits of peach shining through. So that's what we really wanted. Peaches are supposed to do that a little bit on the edges in direct sunlight. So sort of like your hand will do. If you hold your fingers up to a light, they'll do that. So that's the trick for the peach. I've got a little bit more to do with a bump map. Did I record that? No, we'll do that next time. So good luck, have fun,